Today I'm here with my mentor and friend, Melvin Sohs. Melvin made 35 million total so far for himself and his clients. Yeah, clients, partners, etc., etc. Melvin is very successful in what you do, and yeah, today I hope to learn some new stuff from you.
Awesome.
I'm going to ask you some normal questions that probably everybody has asked already.
No problem.
But just for the sake of it, I know you've done this like 100 times, but let's try.
Awesome.
Okay, so like the first question is, like when you're a uni student, you were a top student. You did really well in school.
Not in uni, but before that, yeah.
Before that, you were a top student. Okay, who were your inspiration at that point in your life to stop doing the system that all of us Singaporeans do?
At first, I was concerned you asked me, like, who was my inspiration for doing well in school? There was none. There was my mother and the cane. It's probably that. And so there was no inspiration for doing well in school. I think the inspiration to come out was a combination of a few things. I think I've always been a little bit rebellious. I've always wanted to chart something for myself. But I think, and I talk about this often in just the things that I do and people I coach, etc. I thought about the idea of like rebelliousness is a great spirit versus a desire to do something more than just follow instructions. But rebelliousness alone cannot be the answer, because rebelliousness is fighting against something. It's not creation or something. It's just you ask me to do something, I say no. But then the next question becomes like, what do you want to do? That I don't know. But all I knew to say last time was just no. So I watched a series of things and I realized that I want to say no, but I didn't have, so that's why they call rebel without a cause, because there's no cause you're standing for, you just want to say no. So I watched a whole series of films and books, and you know, that really triggered my disdain with the system, anything from American Psycho to Fight Club to all this kind of stuff. And I've always felt that that the pursuit of materialism just for one impressing another didn't appeal to me. And also from a logical standpoint, going to school to learn from a person who had not done what I had wanted to do just didn't make sense to me, which then I looked around and was more confused that everyone participated in this. You know, I always tell people that the way I felt was like very simple. If you're my driving instructor, but you've never driven, but you're like, I'm there to learn from you, it's like, why would I do that? You know, but I look around and everyone's like, yeah, that's a great idea. But I was like, hey, man, this logically doesn't ever make sense. You know, like, you know, here's a surgeon teaching surgery, but never perform surgery. I say, am I the only one like who doesn't find a problem with this? Who finds a problem with this? And everyone was like, no, this is what we're supposed to do. And I was like, okay, I don't want to participate in that.
In relation to that, do you feel like Singaporean kids who grow up here, study here, go to the normal, typical JC, Poly, they're kind of stuck in their ways of thinking? Or
I don't think they are stuck as much as a few things or so. There is a system developed, and most of the time, you're supposed to follow it. And if you don't follow it, then you're labeled. So I don't think they're stuck, because let me explain to you why they're not stuck. Because when they go overseas and where the societal pressure is off, then all of a sudden they become their wild self, freedom-loving self, whatever exploratory self. So it's almost like when you go to the States or go to places, there is no obligation and shaming to follow a system. Then all of a sudden they become free. But when they come back here, then they are straight back into the system. So I guess they were not stuck. Right? So because all that changed was we changed their country code. We changed their location. Then all of a sudden they're free. And maybe sometimes you have realized that you go other countries and all of a sudden you're like, hey, let's do whatever I want. But I go back to no, I can't do this. It's like, whoa. So you're not stuck, right? But you're mentally stuck. It could be. You know, so why do you feel mentally stuck? Because number one, you feel a cultural nominalization. Number one, we all are supposed to follow a certain norm. Number two, you feel a sense of shame when you don't follow the norm and you go and tell people like, nah, I'm not about that life. They shame you. You know, it's the same like vaccination. Then about either way of vaccination, but you know, there was a period of time when you're not vaccinated, it was like you were cast away, cast out, ostracized, you know, and it was done deliberately. You know, you do this good boy, you do this bad boy, you know, and people don't usually want to be a bad boy. That's it.
Okay. Then my follow-up question there is, some of the top CEOs in companies in Singapore are actually not Singaporeans. They're actually foreign people. Why do you think that is the case?
I think it's not so much whether it's foreign or it's not. So let's explore how people become a CEO, right? There are two kinds of CEOs. There are self-made CEOs and there are imported CEOs. Self-made CEOs are people like our mutual friend Melvin and myself, and people that start a company. And regardless of whether you are white, black, Mexican, Asian, for a person to be self-made, right, it is a process. First of all, they are uncommon. Don't care what gender or what race you are. You're uncommon. Because most of the time, you will find a job, and that's like the normal path. To go out there and attempt to build something from scratch and overcome resistance and skepticism is fundamentally challenging. And of course, then people quote you a whole bunch of stats about how most businesses fail. So first of all, you have to go against the system, look at a stat that says most of you will fail, and go, nah, I am the exception. So it doesn't matter whether you're in the States, whether you're in Mexico, whether you're in Japan, whether you're in Singapore, you are an uncommon person. So those are self-made CEOs. Now the next one you have are imported CEOs, which means they enter and they rise up the managerial ranks and become a job. And these can range from a lot of reasons why they are there. Some are there to keep the status quo. Some are there because the certain HQ want to send them there. And this is independent of any statement about nationality or like culture, therefore, etc. You know, if it's a Japanese company, they might ship a Japanese executive over to be CEO. Not a representation of whether this person is like, you know, different, outside the box, might be very in the box thinking also. Therefore, you know, but I think focusing on more of the self-made people, regardless of where you go, the ability to turn, what is an entrepreneur? An entrepreneur is a person who turns something from nothing. And that is fundamentally hard. That means, let's say in front of us, there's nothing here. An entrepreneur goes, well, I'm going to make something out of this. It's easier to make a lot out of something that exists already. But it's hard to make something out of nothing, when nothing first exists. Those are self-made people, and self-made people are uncommon. And I think regardless of where you go, there's always a certain system. There's always a certain societal pressure. So I don't want to put Singapore under the radar, because everywhere you go, I just came back from the States, and they have their own version of what is right to do. To be an entrepreneur is fundamentally to be a rebel, to be a self-believer, to go against the norm and really believe that you can make it. Where maybe evidence might not show. And that's why so few people are entrepreneurs.
That's true. You just came back from the States. Share with me your experience on how you find the people of the States different, especially the people that do business there, versus the people of Singapore different, especially the people that do business in Singapore.
I think everyone wants to succeed. But fundamentally, I think as a culture, in terms of expression versus substance, I realize that people in the States, right, are greater conveyors of their value. They're better and more bold at doing so. They are greater expressors of their opinions. They're greater believers in the contribution that they can make. Now let's compare that to substance though, and this is in no way putting them down. I find that Asian people can sometimes be of equal, in fact, sometimes higher substance, but be very poor at conveying their value, be very poor at expressing and deserving the wealth, and constantly, in fact, feel the opposite, that they self-discriminate and feel that they are not worthy of high prices, not worthy of working, and they, it's kind of like there's racism and reverse racism. Reverse racism is when you're racist towards yourself. You're like, no, I cannot do it. I'm Chinese, cannot do it. I'm Indian, you know. So that's a reverse racism when you judge yourself, don't judge other people. So I think, like my experience, I'm just being very frank. I mean, like, you know, the Asian people I interact a lot with, especially here in Asia, have reverse racism. They judge themselves and they conclude that because they are of this race, they cannot do it.
Why do you think we are that way?
You know, I think the overconsumption of American culture and over worshipping of West is best is probably that. You know, when a country becomes a dominant country, the first thing they export, right, is not arms or people, it's their culture and their language, their dollar. And more importantly, right, when you export your dollar, your culture, and all of these things, right, you export your view of the world and your lens. And so, remember, there is a saying, right, that says history is written by the victors. So, what is history written by a victor? I mean, the victor decides the lens by which they write. So let's say I meet you, right? That right, Simon's a piece of shit, lah. You know, blah blah blah, right? And then you're not around to like, hey, I really object to that narrative, but lost it. So I decide the narrative. So what do I sell? What is culture? It's a lens. It's a lens of right and wrong. It's a lens to tell you, hey man, when you wear a singlet, that's bad. When you wear a shirt, that's good. Who the heck decides this? You know, when you dye your hair, that's no good. When you have your hair short, that's good. Who decides this? You know, that's a lens. You know, but if I'm the victor, then I decide the lens. And by that lens, then you judge yourself as being worthy or unworthy. You know, if China was the superpower, then we all might feel a lot more worthy. Like, hey man, we are there. You know, but I don't know if that will be the case. There will always be some people that do or not effort.
Yeah, I often do find my Asian friends a bit more on the insecure. No, okay, maybe not insecure, but maybe on the less confident side as compared to my Western European friends. Yeah, I mean, like, you were actually involved very, very closely with Asian men at one point, right?
Yeah.
Just for the heck of it, do you have any words of advice?
In the area of dating, right? Or entrepreneurship?
In the area of dating and entrepreneurship. I feel like they are very closely related for Asian guys.
I think it all boils down to inner belief, right? So I often talk about dating and sales and marketing is very similar in my X Factor stuff that I do, coaching and whatever. Because it is the process of attracting people and converting people. You know, in dating, what's a sale? You know, some say, oh, the sale is the kids, you know, sleeping together, having a ring. No, the sale is you, being with you in whatever capacity that means. You know, in business, what is a sale? The sale is working together with you. So you realize the sale is pretty much the same. The conversion process might differ according to dating and business, but it's largely psychologically the same. People decide whether you are worthwhile, worth the time, and decide whether to do it with you or without you. right? So all of these things require one thing, and they require inner belief. And the lack of inner belief means you judge and exclude yourself even before you are excluded. And the feeling of inner belief means that even if you face external rejection, you're able to reframe it in your mind for something positive to come out. And so the question is, are we having an empowering mindset where I believe I can do it, and if they tell me no, I find a way to come back and reframe that in my mind? Or do I tell myself, you cannot do it, and I don't even try? And so I find that's a real question. I find that a lot of guys, let's say we use dating as an example, it's not so much that they go and get rejected, it's they don't even try because they have decided even before it begins, or based on some past history, or based on the view of themselves, or what their mother and father say, that they cannot do it. And they are so certain. I call that defending your limitations versus exploring your possibilities. Some of us are so certain we cannot do something, even though there's no evidence that indicates that that's true. No, we just cannot. I'm not that kind of person. Have you tried it? No, but I just know I cannot. And that's called defending your limitations. Very so certain that we cannot do something versus exploring, hey, could I do it? Maybe I can. So I think that's it.
How do you break out of that belief? Let's say for a typical Asian guy, maybe it's a Chinese or Indian guy, and he wants to get like non-Singaporean girlfriend, maybe like a European girlfriend or like a Western girlfriend, and he's not very confident because all of his friends are freaking dating the same sort of girls, and he feels that way, and he wants to try something new, but he can't. How do you break out of that?
I think let's put race aside first, right? Because it's not to say that it is wrong to date someone in your own race. It's not to say that to date an Asian person, because we don't want to trophy-tize a European person, right? Because having dated a fair number of people, I would not put a European person better than an Asian person, or neither the other way around. I think it's all a lot individual. But let's talk about specifically what can the person build a sense of belief in terms of doing. So let's repackage the whole question. Talk, how can we do something or find the belief that we can do something when all evidence in the outside indicates that they are not doing it, and maybe we have not tried enough to know that we can. It can be for business, it can be for dating, it can be for anything, for any kind of skill you want to develop, right? Let's say you want to be boxing and all the other boxers are white and black, and you're like the only Asian person there, and you're like, say about this. And this is all about reality. How do you build that reality? Number one, find evidence that somebody has done this before. That's the most important thing. Because impossibility is when there's zero, which means clearly impossible, cannot do. Possibility is when at least 1% do it. That's the Roger Bannister 5-minute mile. What Roger Bannister did is he proved possibility. And the moment there's possibility, right, then the question becomes not if I can do it, but how I can do it, right? So that's the most important thing. Instead of going, I cannot, it's impossible. Now you start thinking, oh, okay, at least one other person did it, so how did they do it? How did these other people do it? Now I'm quite sure there's more than one person that's done these things that you want to do. Then the question becomes, all right, how did they do it? What do they have in common? So we bend our reality to, just because I've not figured it out, just because my friends aren't doing it, doesn't mean it's not possible. And you see, it's very critical that we understand that just because you don't know how to do something, don't mean it's impossible. So let's just tell ourselves, first and foremost, let's be careful with our words here. It cannot be done. Really, just because you don't know how to do it, don't mean it cannot be done. So let's just be accurate with our words here. Just say, I don't know how to do it. I have not figured it out yet. Oh, okay, cool. Then we begin the process of being able to figure out. But if you say it cannot be done, you're so certain, what evidence you have? How come this other person do it before? So it can be done. You see, so I think that's the beginning of reality shifting, and opening up possibilities that something can or cannot be done. But in this case, it can't.
Wow, that's true. That's true. Very deep, very deep. So find someone that has done it.
Yeah, just find at least one other person.
And then that's
right? A lot of people say, hey, Asian people cannot break into Hollywood. Hey, I give you a dead guy got Bruce Lee, man, do it. So it can be done.
It's a legend.
Right, it can be done, right? So then the question becomes like, he did pretty well. Then he's still quite famous, right? So the question becomes like, hey, how did he do it?
That's true. That's true.
And we cannot accept the fact that it cannot be done. That's why trailblazers are so amazing. Because trailblazers, sometimes trailblazers aren't always the richest, or they always end up with a happy ending, but trailblazers accomplish something in human civilization known as what? Showing possibility. That's it. You show possibility. Because everyone else goes, because if 0, 100, then we go cannot. But there's one guy, even 1 in a million, in 100 million, in a billion. But then that one person goes, hey, let's observe this. How the hell did he do it? And he sets a benchmark. And so that's beautiful.
Wow. Nice. Thanks for sharing that. Nice, man. On the accounts of possibilities and like reality shifting, when you first quit school and focus all your efforts into your new ventures, why didn't they work out at first?
Oh, that's a great question. There's a combination. The world works in duality. One's got inner world in your mind, and the outer is your skills. I got none. I got no skill and no correct mindset also. And that's why like I find it funny because these days I think because of my being, my nature, my personality, a lot of young folks like to follow me. And when they like to follow me, right, sometimes when people follow a person they look up to, they like to duplicate their story. I never tell people quit school. I said I quit school and listen carefully, it didn't turn out that well. People listen to this story and go, hey, that's exactly what I'm doing. I'd be like, Melvin, I asked quit school. I'm like, do you hear the story? Like, it's not a, it's not a happy ending to this story, you know. Like, I do stress that it was challenging, and so quitting is one thing. But knowing, so there's so many things, right, that result in success. Do you have a plan, a vision, a certainty, a clarity, right? Clarity comes in two forms. Self-clarity and clarity of enterprise. Self-clarity means I know who I am, I know what I want to do, I know what this is about, and therefore I put my clarity inside my business. I had no self-clarity, no self-awareness even, so don't even talk about clarity then, even know who I was. So needless to say, most of the ventures were not clear. I do something, not sure, see someone else do it, didn't know whether it was failure or model, failure of myself or whatever it is, and then just quick jump around, right? So no clarity. No vision, no idea of what success looks like because I was surrounded by mediocrity at the point of time. You know, no right character also in terms of what it took in order to be an entrepreneur. Very poor sense of discipline. Prioritize other frivolous shit over work and then only work when out of desperation. So watch out, no clarity, no vision, no character. Then next one is no skill set. When you quit school, I mean, hey, I just got a uni, SMU year one. What skill I have? Maybe I know I write academic papers, maybe write compo, write some general paper, it's really good. But what kind of like bankable skill set did I have? None. Then should we go on? This is a long list of no's. You know, and that's horrible. Oh, no context within the industry, no money also. You know, so it's not like I could buy my way to some form of education or like coaching. No even awareness to have that realization that, hey man, you're not good at something. They should go and find a mentor. None. I'm just like, I figured this out myself. How? And so there's a long list of no's. And so when the list of no's are so great, and the list of like, you know, bankable skills and right kind of traits are just very empty, you just have $800 a month and poverty.
Wow, that's a very deep reason as to why. Okay.
Then when I see people say, I want to quit, I'm like, sit and talk. In about 10 minutes, you can tell whether they have skills, traits, vision, clarity, and I'm like, hey bro, if you have none of these things, right, your quitting it's not gonna bring you wealth. You know, I wouldn't even say stay or leave. I'll say build on these things. You know, I mean, then you can decide whether you want to quit, work in a job, then quit school, quit whatever. Because quitting is one thing, but quitting is the freedom to begin that which you want to do. But it's very hard to begin something you want to do if you've got no skill, no vision, no clarity, nothing. You know, you say, I want to drive a car. Okay, sure, put you back a car, but you can't drive. Your eyesight is bad. You know, you're drunk, just a poor driver. It's like, bro, you're not gonna make it.
You have a very similar background to me, actually. So, like, I have a similar story as well. Like, I stopped school and I focused a lot on leading and pick up at one point in life. What brought you to that niche?
I think at that point in time, I started this in 2008, 2009, 20... I think I did it all the way to about 2011. I think it's a combination of things. Right, I think I grew up in all boys. I would say I grew up in all boys school. I attended an all boys school.
Same.
Right, and I think there was nothing wrong. Just that at that point of time, I just noticed there were some guys in my class, especially the guys I was friends with. You know, I remember there was this guy. Hope he watches this. I remember his name is Benedict, and he was sitting beside me, and I was from Chinese High Hwa Chong, and obviously our school was Nanyang Girls School. And at that point in time, people had the Nokia 3310, and I don't know what the heck Benedict did, because I mean we are from a boys' school. You know, and after school, I mean, I was from MPCC, and Benedict would say, apparently played tennis. I don't know how the heck he got to know girls, but he would just tell me, hey, Mel, you believe it or not, I can get my phone to ring, and get all these Nanyang girls would text me. I say, don't bullshit, brother. We're all from boys' school, kind of nonsense. Who call you? Your mother call you, I believe her. Your sister call you, I believe her. I tell you, the chemistry cup, I was like, who are these people texting Benedict? You know, and then there was always, there seemed to be guys that were just naturally good at, I won't say picking up girls, but just knowing how to communicate with the girls in a way that would elicit friendship, that would elicit maybe liking or any possibility beyond that. And there were guys that were just completely just terrible at it. And it seemed like it was either you're born with it or you're not. And you know, in boys' school, then there's a common great conversation where guys would sit around and give each other really poor dating advice. And the dating advice was not built around like how we could develop ourselves in order to know how to do this skill. It was the advice of you either have it or you don't. Hey, you look at the guy, he's so tall, he must get girls. Hey, look at the guy, he's so handsome, he must get girls. Hey, look at the guy, he's so buff, he must get girls. Hey, look at the guy, he's a basketball player, volleyball player, tracker, blah, 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 he must get girls. And whatever combination, right? Look at the guy, he makes blood and he must get girls. Hey, this is like fun, cool topic to talk about. it also served as a frame for the other people who, if you're not in that category, then I guess you're doomed. You just doomed. So what that set in place was this idea that you were either born with charisma, charm, ability to speak, looks, height, athleticism, or whatever, right? And therefore you are able to find someone who likes you, or you are not, and Lord have mercy on your ugly ass face, and you just go die single, right? Then that was an accepted reality, until there were books that came out that say, hey, no, we can develop this skill of understanding, communicating, knowing how we can form connections, and then that became very interesting to me because I was like, is that true? I read it, right? Then I found it interesting. Then I decided to dive into it also because I think the industry was picking up at that point in time. Actually, I launched a product because part of it was I also wanted to speak to these people and strengthen my own belief. I thought to myself, since it's booming and some element of marketing skill, I would think I was stupid to know how potentially risky doing this was. So I didn't know. I thought, let's just go and do it. Somebody should do it. I found a business partner who was a dating coach. I was his marketer for a while. And so that was how I entered this very colorful industry of called dating and pickup.
I actually have the exact same story. Yeah. The exact same thought process and why I went into it. Except I didn't partner with a dating coach. I should have done that. That would have been quite a fun.
No, I thought you became a dating coach.
I did.
Which is fine. I mean,
it was kind of unsustainable at that point, but
Well, I think that's why people can relate, because people look at some of the things that I've done, and they're like, then what is that? It's pretty cool. But when I voice the journey by which I came from, you listen to the place where I came from, you're like, hey man, that is exactly what I was thinking. You see, I am not like so uniquely like, whoa, yeah, I've been there.
Wow, interesting. You were so broke at one point, right? You even had to wash dishes.
No, my mom told me to be a dishwasher. I didn't do it.
Your mom forced you to be a dishwasher?
No, she told me that it was much better than making $800 a month. There was this second floor restaurant at West Mall. There was put a whiteboard out and said they were paying people to wash dishes for $1,600. And there was like 2 times, good money.
I think for dishwasher.
Yeah, I worked 5.5. It's I think it was called Mine Kitchen. Mine Mouth Kitchen is a West Mall level 2 beside Swenson's. And my mom took a picture and sent me. Say, hey, you consider that every day you stay at home, no money, keep asking me for money, eat all the food in the house. So it's 2 times why make some more got free food. So she asked me to consider whether there was something and sometimes when I tell these stories, we're like, oh man, he's trying to show how broke he is. I tell you who was the one that reminded me of this story? My mother. Yeah, it's not like when you go through tough times, you don't remember some of these stories. My mother's the one that reminded me. I was like,
mom.
Then after she reminded me, I say, you know what, I'm going to use this every time I do a talk now. She doesn't like that I tell this story. She's like, I already told you once. I said, hey, how many times you need to tell me? But it's real. She did tell me to do it.
But what I like is at that point you were volunteering for quite a few people, right? You were volunteering for Robert Kiyosaki, Tony Robbins, and quite a few names.
I went to volunteer for every single seminar they conducted. It was under Success Resources. I think I would say I volunteered for every single half-acre seminar from 2008 all the way to 2001, 2 or 3 or 4, somewhere there, for at least about 5, 6, 7 years.
Would you still recommend people to go through what you did in terms of volunteering for all of
I think it's not even a possibility now.
It's not even a possibility?
Yeah, because there are not many live events now. Right, so let's just put it out there. When we're doing this is 2023. So these day and age, the number of live events. There used to be live events like every single time. I mean, Suntec, MBS. They were just like Expo. There were always a lot of these. COVID killed a lot of that. So these days are virtual events. I would recommend apprenticeship, and in some form. If I were to look back and give myself advice, I would look for apprenticeship. Now, what is apprenticeship? Is it volunteering? No, apprenticeship is the ability to learn. If you get paid, even better, right? But the ability to learn from a master, that's it. Because sometimes you learn via coaching, which is great, which is way better than just a video or a book. So if you're watching this and you want interested, you can contact me and see whether we are a match. But apprenticeship is the ability to work alongside this person. So if you watch football, right, then you are known as Mikel Arteta was the assistant coach to Pep Guardiola.
Yep.
And Pep Guardiola was working under different people also. Mourinho was a assistant coach to Sir Bobby Robson and many, and it goes on and on. And why do they later come out to be really successful in their own right? There's something you pick up by being around masters, right? And then by apprenticing, you get to witness what they do every single day. You get to witness how the business is done, yada. And then afterwards, you're able to come out at your own flair, do it, and become a somebody. So It's not a matter of volunteering or not. I'll just say apprenticeship.
How do you recommend someone go about this and try and be an apprentice to someone great?
First of all, a lot of mentor things. Number one, go and look for people out there that you resonate with and that are somebody. And number two, right, be willing in the early years, right, to forego entitlement, privileges. I want to be compensated, blah, 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 right? Which, you know, I would say people in Singapore are always about that first. You know, it's like skills before a profit. You know, the ability to do a lot of wonderful things, learn a lot of wonderful things before we're going to talk about how much money you're going to make. You know, that is critical. You're not going to make that much money at the start. You go work your ass off. And that's part of the process. That is the key. You're going to profit later, insanely, ridiculously, exponentially, sometimes even say unfairly. But it's not going to happen if at the start you're like, all right, it's my first month here, $5,000 a month minimum, please. I want to hire you.
That's true.
Yeah, so the ability to go over and above everything there, go the extra mile, like Napoleon Hill said in Think and Grow Rich. You know, be willing to add value in all sorts of ways. Because why? You are learning. Be a sponge. Ask questions. Carry boxes. Put paper. Whatever it is. Learn everything you can about the business. Add massive amounts of value. Constantly experiment. That's what the 20s are for. If you ask me. If I will flip it back, 20, 21, I'll still quit school, but I'll go and find a mentor. And then I'll go and apprentice and shut the fuck up and just like learn everything I can in those 4-5 years. Which would then only make me 25. But that will make me so wise and having actually done it also, and then that will just like, you know, accelerate things.
Yeah, that was actually going to be my follow-up question. If you could travel back in time and
that's what
give yourself some advice, okay.
Apprentice under someone and just like really soak everything up. Because at the start, hey, come on, when you're 20 something, hopefully you aren't like impregnating people, you know, you aren't having multiple kids out of wedlock, and so your bills are pretty manageable. You know, you can stay at your parents, whatever, you just need a house to stay, but devote all that time to learning and soaking it up and just like asking questions. And those years, it builds, it stacks. And then one day you just like, you know, what could you do? Anything you want. Start a business, be a freelancer, enter a company, do revenue share. Got the skills.
You're a mentor to many people, probably possibly close to thousands indirectly.
Probably more than that, actually. Yeah.
Directly and indirectly, right? What makes a good mentor in your opinion?
Very, very simple answer. And a lot of people say, it's a caring for the student. No, it's a good model. That's it. I am not a perfect model, and neither do I expect people who I support and help to be perfect. You know, we are not running the Jesus Christ business here. I'm not Jesus, right? But I think what I am is, I always ask myself, am I a good model? For example of that, you know, it's very hard for me to coach if I've never attempted to be empathetic or gone through what you have done. And more importantly, right, after empathizing with your situation, overcome that challenge before. I think our biggest problem in this coaching industry, in this mentoring industry, is just so many people mentoring out theory, which means hypothetically, according to the book that I read, according to this course that I bought, according to this YouTube video, I hypothetically know what it is to be mentally tough. Really? Ever been punched? Like, you know, berate you, just beat the shit out of you. Life beat the shit out of you. If you haven't been there, then you got interesting theory or untested. True. Right? So if you want to be a mentor, then I would say be a model. Tap from something that you've actually done and constantly grow. Wow. And then from that space, right, it is easy to share. It's easy to write a story when it's real, because you are fiction. When you fictionalize it, which means invent it, it's hard. But when you just like, you know, just pen it down when it's something that truly happened, it's a lot easier. So I'll say one simple thing, be a model. You don't have to be a perfect model, but at least like, hey, you know, you ask people to do this kind of thing, right? You can do it yourself. Then you understand, then, you know, because when you actually have done it before, I think we live in a place, I wrote a post about this on artificial intelligence, and I said, you know, the two other values are authentic intelligence, ability to listen to your intuition, to yourself, rather than what ChatGPT tells you to do, because why would you surrender your entire life to what a machine programmed by OpenAI and allow it to define your life? And it's like, that's terrible. And the next one is actual intelligence, which is the ability, because these days, people are like, hey, you know what, here's how I read 50 books in one day using ChatGPT. I don't think that's reading it, bro. That's summarizing, that's getting bullet points, but would you say you crystallize it on a deep level to the ability that you're able to integrate and internalize it and use it in your life to effect change? No one. So you might got 50 pointers from how the monk who sold his Ferrari. I got this book from, you know, Tim Ferriss. It's like, no, bro, you got a few summary pointers, which are great if you're trying to do a quick presentation to a bunch of people, but I wouldn't call that learning. It's not. But when you learn something, you are able to internalize it, integrate it, use it, and like, you know, and more importantly, effect a change within yourself as a result of the knowledge you experience. I almost argue, right, that you have not learned something unless it's changed you in some level. No, you just go and think about it. Let's say you learn dating and pickup, and you say you learn a whole bunch. But you go out there, you just suck with girls. Like you suck at, like the way you started when you started. Have you changed? Have you learned anything? I would say you have regurgitated some information. You have the ability to share some interesting concepts. But hey man, you can't do it. What have you learned? You say, man, I learned a lot of driving. I say, hey, here's a car, please drive. Oh, you still crash it. I'm like, bro, I put forth to you that you have not learned driving.
True.
Think about it, right? How do you know a person learn driving? Come, this is really simple. How do you know?
How do you know if a person
Has learned driving.
Can drive a car lah?
Yeah, exactly. Now, would you dare put forth, right? If the person cannot drive a car, he has not learned it.
Yep, of course.
But what if you use ChatGPT for 5 hours or 5 days and 50 days and he can regurgitate every driving theory but cannot drive it? Has he learned it?
No, he has not.
We have a problem in this society in these days. So what I'm saying is, if you want to be a mentor, hey, actually you can do it so that you know how it's actually done, so that you are able to then reverse and teach it straight.
There's a saying and it goes, people who love the walk will walk more distance than the person who has to walk. Right? Must you actually enjoy what you're doing to make money?
No. But you must enjoy what you're doing to last long.
Okay.
There's a huge difference between make money. What's the difference of make money? You see, this is a very nebulous space, right? Make money, you never even talk about how much money also, right? Make $1. Who the hell cares? You know, give out flyers, the guy give out flyer downstairs, you think he like it, but he can make $1, $10, $100. Can make some money. Now to make big money, probably you need to like it a bit more than just treat it as a job. If you want to last long and build something really big and sustainable, then you gotta love it. So the answer to that might be a little bit surprising. No. You gotta make small amounts of money. People at McDonald's like the job, no? They do it for the money. It's not big, but if you want to make above anything 6 figures, developing a love for it seems to be a somewhat prerequisite because especially when you're starting out. Because if you don't love it, then beyond paying your bills, then you might not find the drive to push forward. Now, if you want to be huge, then you better really not just love it, and you better be obsessed about it. So it's up to you. Life is quite free.
True.
Think about it. Make money, very interesting term. What does that mean? How much? $5? Come on, I ask you to pluck grass there for $5. You like $5 now, you're like, okay, how long? 2 minutes, let's do it. You love it? Nah, I just want $5. You made money, right?
True. Guess you have to define what is getting us going and making money. Okay. Interesting. I want to ask you something really random.
Sure, you can ask me all sorts of random shit.
What's your love language and why?
My love language, okay, so there are 5 love languages. So which I actually teach this stuff. There are words, there are physical touch, there's quality time, there's gifts, and there's acts of service. Now, this love language would it be for member of the opposite sex, or is it for
for yourself
within the team? I like physical touch, but I really like acts of service because I find myself the reason why I'm not doing this in my room is because my room is it's not really neat. They'll come in my room and they're like, oh my God. I say, hey man, this is a reflection of my prioritization. I prioritize work, expansion, growth, and many other things over perhaps organization of household matters. So I mean, if somebody came and cleaned up my room, I'll be eternally grateful. There'll be people who volunteered for that. So there's that. I'll say physical touch. I like words of affirmation. I think the affirmation part is definitely good because I think the feedback allows me to know whether I'm doing a good job also. I think that's that. Gifts, unless I really ask for something, but otherwise, my room is packed with shit already. So unless this gift is like significantly very vital, it's gonna add to the pile. All right. Quality time. I don't dislike quality time. I kind of like it also. So because it needs to be quality because they say I'm very busy.
Okay, acts of service.
Acts of cleaning, maybe acts of cleaning.
Yeah, specifically cleaning up.
You ask me, hey, what does he like? Like, was lubricate my life, make it friction free.
Interesting.
I do, like when I made money, the number one thing I did. So I was thinking about this. I wrote a post about this. A lot of people debate, can money bring happiness? I say debatable. So when people say, hiya, happiness, some of these things are free. I tell you what money can do. It make your life less shitty. That's definite, right? That's definite. We can debate whether it bring you happiness. But I tell you, definitely make your life less shitty. You know why? Got money, can take taxi. No need to wait in the MRT, get squeezed so hot, right? You got money, I was taking a flight. Then they got bought me first. Hey, $5 extra only.
Huh?
Yeah, for Scoot. $5 extra, bought me first. Don't need to squeeze there and run out of like headspace. Hey, pay that $5, convenient. Go in first, no one to bother you. You pay a little bit money, lean back on a flight. Sleep, got space. No big fat person beside you cramming your space. Fight for the armrest. None of that shit. Does it bring you happiness? I don't know. Depends on what makes you happy. But certainly makes your life more convenient, less shitty. I got to talk about that. Money definitely makes your life less shitty, less friction, less inconvenience. And when it brings you happiness is a debatable matter.
On the topic of happiness, right now Singapore has this situation, and many first world countries has this situation where the population is not actually going up, it's actually going downward. People are having lesser and lesser kids, right? There's probably a reasoning behind that and whatnot, high expense, etc. Do you want kids?
It's a very tricky question. It's a most challenging question. Let me just put forth and say that I probably need to work on certain areas. So I'm not a very pleasant childhood and family upbringing. And so it's a very conflicting issue for me. I'm very open and vulnerable here. On one hand, I just have a kids business now. I just bought Supercamp, and I now own a kids camp franchise here.
You are a camp holder, or
No, I own it now.
you own?
So the camps are done here under Supercamp Singapore are now going to be run by me.
Oh wow, cool.
Yeah, so that was what I used to do from 2008 to 2016 amid many other things that I did. So I did kids related stuff. So I love kids work, and and I work with the kids. It wasn't the highest paying gig in the world. Working with adults pays way more money than working with kids. It's like, if you go to dojo, you work with adult fighters and, they pay you a lot more money than you teach the little kid there how to do his first boxing, right? So it must be an act of love and passion, and I do enjoy it. I didn't have a very happy family, so sometimes I'm conflicted, right? But some of the partners that I've been with have had kids or brought over some of their kids, and when I look upon some of my friends' kids, then I really think it's really, really cute. So I think myself in those moments, hey, I don't mind having some. So it's a toss-up topic for me. I know it's easy for some people. I got some entrepreneur friends who are like, no kids, I like dogs, and then they go on to call their dogs their babies, which is a separate kind of weird. But for me, I'll put it as an interesting thing. I probably need more self-work in the area. But I'm not against it. I mean, I own a kids thing. I like kids. Kids like me too. But do I want to have my own? That's something that I am tossing it.
I asked this question to quite a few successful entrepreneurs like yourself. And the thing is, you guys have fought so much fires in your life, and you've mentored countless of people, right? You think you'll be a good father, at least, right? In relations to the things you've encountered in your life. And
I hope so. I think being a father is more than the fact that you've gone through a lot of tough times and have the lessons to share. That makes you a good seminar speaker. Being a father has many other elements towards just like, hey, son, listen to my stories. This makes you a good storyteller. Might not make you a good father. Being a father is sort of elements that involve maybe sometimes not sharing your stories.
like Tristan.
So we have to get back on that with just start there and say, does that automatically make you a good father? I almost argue that being available for your kid would sometimes, by not talking and being supportive, is a big part. So it's almost like, hey, if you're not in a space where you can put yourself and be time present and physically and emotionally present to be a part of your kid's journey, and it's almost like, despite the money and experience and blah, 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 it's like, will you say you're a good father? Or will you call you an absentee father? Right? He's got great stories to tell. He's never around, but I mean, in the 2 days in a year where he's around, man, he's fucking great. But he's never around though.
That's interesting, because someone famous on the internet right now, his name is Andrew Tate, I'm sure everybody has heard of him, always says that his father was never around for him. But look at how successful Andrew Tate has become today. Whether you like him or don't like him, he's a very successful person who's made a lot of money and has impacted lots of lives. Do you agree with what Andrew Tate says in terms of masculinity and fatherhood?
I say, first and foremost, success and emotionally well-wired is different. And you might argue that, with my kind of childhood and family that I grew up in, you might say that I'm successful because of that. But I'm also going to put forth the fact that we do not need trauma in order to be successful. Is it possible for me to abuse the shit out of you and make you successful? Of course. But then you get your energy from the psychological torture you experience. Would that make you a rich person? Yes. Would that make you a well-wired emotionally person? Probably not. You know, so I think we need to distinguish success from, like, you know, what's going on the inside, and whether, like, you know, we want to have that. You can be a tortured soul and be really charismatic and successful, but also just inflict pain upon yourself and others. You know, so what I think is critical if somebody aspires to be a father is if you be around for them and then have them grow up in a well-rounded fashion so they can be successful internally and externally, as opposed to external, which means they tap into anger, revenge, and all sorts of, you know, psychological void, not be successful but be internally very fucked up. You know, I was watching a documentary on Devin Haney, a boxer, and, you know, Devin is undefeated and very successful now, and his dad has watched and been there for every single fight that he has had ever since 10. And they have such a close bond. And you can see that Devin is not a psychologically messed up person who enjoys a great relationship with his dad. You know, so it's like, you know, for success to happen doesn't mean that we need to inflict torture. Would that be even like real success? You know, I have seen people in my life who have like done really well in business without having to go through some of the angst and trauma that I did. And so, you know, like, you know, I look upon them and think, wow, what a great family. Yeah. You know, then would I go like, hey, you know what, thank God I had a real shitty family and that led to great things. I was like, I don't know, man. Like, you know, I mean, if I had to pick between a great family and not a great family and still end up successful, I'll pick a great family. Yeah. You know, I'll pick a father that was around. I'll pick a mother who was understanding. You know, I think, boy, you know, I just happen to have this situation and make the best out of the situation. It doesn't mean that, you know, we should celebrate tortured men, and even worse, use it as a prerequisite. You know, it's kind of interesting. People who grow up in well-rounded families read a lot of rapper stories, or people who grow up from the hood, all tough and stuff, and be like, hey man, I would trade my happy family for life in the hood. Oh really? That's what you want? Stupid. Right. Why?
Makes sense. You know, on account of all of these like trauma and everything, I think a lot of people relate to that in Asia especially. But like, do you feel like the current generation of entrepreneurs, 25 and below, and the ones that are older than 30 plus, do you think there's a difference in terms of softness? Are we more sensitive? Is the younger generation more?
I think that is a dangerous topic because it discriminates. I think what happens, right, with different generations is every generation has a plus and a minus. And it's very critical that we understand this versus just bitch and complain and say, oh, look at those bunch of pussies. Let me tell you what the younger generation are good at. Yeah, they have a default, more unlimited thinking from a worldwide perspective because they are exposed to creatorism. I'm just creating my own word here. And the idea to create like short form content and be able to know how to reach and how to build brand is all very instinctive to them, having grown up with that kind of thing. What are they not good at? Maybe the hardness of, like, you know, having to build that character but spend too much time on the phone. So they have a plus and they have a minus. Now all these people above like 35, 40 and go, oh, you know, we really tough. Okay, cool, you win in this area, but you're not very on social media. So your reach is limited and you have a lot of limiting beliefs in the area of creatorism, being able to create. And so do we consider that a plus? I mean, so you are trying to say, hey, I'm better than these people in my strength, but you are lesser than them in your weakness. So then it kind of evens out, right? They might be, you might think they're a bunch of pussies, but they're a bunch of pussies with a huge following. You might be a real tough guy, but you're a tough guy with a limited following. So who is better? I'd rather be the tough guy with a big following and learning from them. So I think what I love to propagate, and I think that's why I attract a very interesting a young crowd, and I also have an older crowd also. But I'm open to both. I'm open to learning from the younger folks in the area of how they think and how they use tech. But I'm also happy to share with them some areas also, and I think some of them appreciate because they can feel when you are being soft. And I don't think people deliberately want to be soft, just that when they look around, they're not. So they come to me, I help them strengthen it in the area then and give me ideas in the area of tech and many of these things, right? And then I'm able to work with the older crowd because then I'm able to connect with them because they go, oh, he's a tough guy, I like tough guy, you know. And I just tell them, you know, here are things that we can do to modernize. So I don't stand for either one or the other, right? Because so what if you're very tough, but you know, you don't use tech and use pen and paper, it's like you're tough as it's gonna be broke. So I don't think we should just like go and say that, you know, everybody is soft or not, the pros and cons. Like this kind of thing must lead to more collaboration versus discrimination, separation, and just be like, you know, in my time, how does that help anybody?
Should leverage on each other's.
Yes, you know, they can teach you a few things about, you know, like tech, and you teach them a few things about character. They get to grow and become more well-rounded, you know. It's like left hand and right hand argument. Hey, left hand better, right hand better. Hey, man, bro, not wrong. Both hand better. There's the answer.
Okay. You've impacted a lot of people, a lot of lives. You've done many great things, and you're still going to probably do a bunch of great things. What do you want people to say about you when you are not in this world anymore?
I say I would like them to look upon what I've done and find it entertaining, interesting, amusing, and inspiring as well, both in terms of what is possible and the lessons that I've learned as well. I predict, I think Grow Rich is a great book. It's a very solid book on success. I predict that the stuff that I write will be solid, interesting, lots of lessons, a lot of stuff, and a bit more interesting than Think and Grow Rich. Yeah, because Think and Grow Rich, I'm not saying boring, but I mean it's not a lot of stories in there, a lot of great theory, but I think the consumption of information is sometimes help if it's embodied in a person and the story and it's interesting to read and it's coupled with ups and rise and challenges and triumphs and stories and then afterwards we read it and go, man, this is like a combination of this is like the game meets Think and Grow Rich meets so I think and remember when I said all the way at the start is the idea of that possibility. It's a guy that actually managed to show that it is possible. So whether you learn from me or just literally don't even read anything that I produce, but then just go, hey, this guy did it before, can do it, then I will have served my function.
Wow, very nice. If you had 5 minutes and the whole world was listening to you right now, what would you say?
I'll talk specifically about reality, about transformation, about expansion. I would talk about very, very simple. It's my story is less a story of how a person learned about marketing. My story is about how a person can make a shift. I'm always been obsessed with the idea of the stuff I learned at Supercamp, because it is the idea that a person can enter on the first day of a program and be shut down and shy and not know how to communicate and probably have weak character traits, and over the process of activities and realizations and conversations, it's make a shift and walk out a different person. And more importantly, not just have 7 days of an aha and a good feeling, but go on to change the trajectory of their lives. And it just means that transformation is possible. I managed to turn myself from a person who did not play football to a person who is ambidextrous. I've turned myself from failure in business to now teaching people on business. I've turned myself from broke at $800 a month, 1 meal a day, to now having millions and millions of dollars. And people are like, I teach wealth psychology. I managed to go from the first time I did a pitch and had 0 sales. I had one. The person said, hey, you're not very good at this. I support you. I always remember his name is Norman. Thank you for your first buy. And literally, he was like, not very impacted by your pitch, but I support you. And then he also went on to take a cap moment and tell me, actually, if you never sell today, I already decided to buy a long time ago, just so you know. As if it was not enough to tell me that my pitch was horrible, to making $2.2 million in 45 minutes in terms of preaching it. So I mentioned all of these things, right? Because I was there at both ends, and you remember what it's like, and then you witness what it's like, and you're like, whoa, wait a minute, I'm the same body, not the same person, but hey man, wow, holy shit, and of course, not being great with a female gender and then becoming more proficient in the area. And there are moments when I was like, hey, I really remember what it was like here, and now I'm here. And I think that reality shift, whoa, what is possible? What is reality? You grow up, you have a story, I can't do this is my life, I make this amount of money. It's like years later, it could be 2 extra zeros at the back. You could be living a complete different life. And then that really shifts the idea of what is possible, what is reality, what is expansion, what are we really capable of. And I put forth that we should be less certain about our limitations and more open about our possibilities, because you never know. Because as a person that has gone from 1 meal a day to millions and millions of dollars, I look in the mirror and see roughly the same guy. It's different, things are different. And you never know. And so now I am very open to the possibility that some amazing things can happen. Because they already have happened. Hey, in 45 minutes, I made more money than my parents worked their whole life. It's collected. It's rare. But I also the same guy that slept on the couch. When my mother asked me to be a dishwasher, you can see this. This is he got that moment I think we're living in a simulation. What the hell is happening?
So it's all part of the matrix.
Yeah, because you remember. And when I go back home, the couch that I slept on is still there.
Huh.
And you have that what is reality? So that's my 5 minutes.
Wow.
Transformation. You never know. You never know what's possible. Why are you so certain that you're this person? You're certain in your limitations. I cannot do it. I'm this kind of person. I only know this kind of thing. My life has all just been about malleable, moldable reality with infinite possibilities. I felt lousy in soccer. Very lousy. Last time people asked me to play then. And they would like, I remember on a rainy day when I was 14, there was 5-on-4. So street soccer is 5-on-5. I stood at the side, I said, hey, can I come in? They said, Melvin, so, never mind, you stay outside. I stood outside for 4 hours as it drizzled, and they play 5-on-4. I'd rather play without me than me.
Wow.
I really wasn't good. Then I was able to like mold and take myself to a place where I became like really ambidextrously good. Then I also remember next time I went, I remember this reality shift moment. I went to court, right? And they had 5-on-5. And there was a bunch of Malay guys, and Malay guys usually like playing with other Malay guys. They looked at me and said, hey, Melvin, hey. Then they told their friend, hey, you get out, Melvin, come in. Then it was that moment, it was like, last time there were 4 and they want me. Now they have their friends, and they kick one of their friends out just to have me come right in there. At that moment, I was like, what the f is going on, right? And that's what I mean. So what is possible? I don't know. Be less certain about limitations. Be more open about the possibilities. How so?
Thanks a lot, man. Very interesting, deep way to end.